This conference will now be recorded.
In last meeting, we discussed about static method implementation, right? In static method, we have seen a couple of scenarios and related to data copying from one table to another table, duplicate record eliminations. So all these things we have seen in the last meeting. Today, we are discussing about display method. Okay. So a little bit this display method syntax will be different. And let me show you that first. In table, let me open the table. Okay, first of all, let me tell you the scenario so that you can easily understand the display method concept. Let me open the form, EMP table form. Okay, see here. Here I just want to show a text box. In that text box, I would like to show the loan value. Here, I will create one text box. Okay. In that text box, whatever the record we are selecting in the grid, against this record, we have some loans, right? In the loan table, I will calculate the sum of the loans and I will show here in the text box itself. For example, if I select 104 loans amount, 103 loans amount, 102 loans amount, like that. Instant value. I mean, we need to calculate the sum of the loans and we need to show here. This is purely display kind of thing. Okay, how we will achieve this kind of requirement, I'll show you. Now I'm writing a new method in table level, especially I'm writing in EMP table. Why? We are showing the we would like to show that particular data in the EMP table form itself. So that's what I'm writing in the EMP table, even though we are calculating loans. Okay. Now I'm creating a new method. So it is kind of display method. Now here, just I'm going to change the syntax like public display. So we are returning amount, right? We are returning amount, so that display real. Here you can use extended data type also if you want instead of real. Okay, here I'm giving some method name like show loans amount. Okay, here we would not pass any arguments. In which table we have a loans? EMP loan table, right? So I'm declaring the EMP loan table and I'm declaring one variable. Okay, and here I'm writing a select statement to calculate the loans. EMP loans, where EMP loans dot EMP ID equal to this dot in form. We will select one record, right? That record information we can fetch by using this dot EMP ID. Now here total equal to total plus EMP loan dot amount. Okay. Finally, we are returning total value. That's it. Because return type is real, right? So finally, we have to write return real value, value variable. Here I'm returning total value. So now this method, how I will use it. So let's open the form. In form, you need control, right? I mean, like a text box type of control you required. So now go to the design. Now I'm creating a new. So we are showing real value. So that's what we have a real control will be there. Real. You just find out the real control. See, take the real control. Real control in the sense real type of text box. Suppose if you want to show some date in the user interface, you just need to take the date. Suppose if you want to show string, we have a string. Now we are going to showing real value. That's what I'm taking real text box. It is a text box. Okay. Now I'm keeping after the quick filter control, and I'm changing the name of the real control here. Uh, I'm just giving something like form real loans control, something like, okay. Now go to the properties, and there is a property called data source. First we need to provide the data source. Current data source name is EMP table, right? This one. Provide the data source name here. I'm providing the data source name to the control. Now here you can select the data method. Already we have written one data method, show loans amount in the table level. See, we have written this method in the table. Here it is showing because we have selected the data source name, right? According to this data source, automatically system will fetch all the display methods which we have written already in this particular EMP table. Okay, and provide the label for your control. It is a control actually. So provide the label. I'm providing the label total loans. See, you can observe here in the preview pane. Automatically, we are getting a control here. Now save the changes. Better to build the project and execute the same form again. Okay, fine. Let me execute the same form again. We'll see whether we are getting the total loans value into the text box or not. Yeah, you can see here there is a by default first record got selected showing 20,000. Select second record, third record, fourth record, fifth record. Fifth record doesn't have any loans, showing 0. 40,000, 25, 40, 20. Okay. When we are changing the record, when we are selecting the record, automatically we have written some piece of code right in the display method itself. That piece of code will execute at that moment and it will show the data. This business logic will execute every time when we are selecting a record. It is a, I mean, dynamic value. It is a dynamic value, and this value a system cannot store. It is only for displaying purpose. That's it. To viewing purpose. That's it. And if I want to get this value, it is not possible. Only for display purpose. We will use this kind of things. I mean, we'll use this kind of a display method concept. So I think uh, I think this is clear for you, right? Write down the display method and create your control in the design. I have created control in the design, something like a real. So you are returning real value, right? So whatever the return type you are giving, according to that, you need to select the control here. Okay. And finally, you need to return the same return type value here and assign that particular data method. And for example, if you want to show that control in this form, you need to go to in this table and write down the piece of code. Okay, but because we need to provide the data source property right here. Suppose if you are writing a loan table, how can you provide the data source name EMP loan table EM here? It is not possible, right? So we need to write in this table only, EMP table only. That is the reason I'm able to provide a data source property EMP table, and then we can fetch the data methods which is already written in the EMP table. Okay.
Arjun, this data method was populated just because we have defined is as a display method, right?
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Display keyword.
yeah, and in case if I am willing to achieve the same result by defining this property case static, then I would have to, draw a new label control instead of the real control, or even I can draw the real control, then I would have to write some other logic. Means is
What
it,
exactly you were
I'm just
saying?
willing to say that instead of defining it as a display method, I'm just willing to define this as a static method, right? So, and I want to, get the same result. How can I
Hmm.
do this?
In text box itself,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. In text box, see, it is when we are selecting the record, it is executing dynamically, right? So that is the reason we have a separate display method has given. We cannot show, I think, in the text box itself. Suppose if you are creating a manual text box, and how will you populate the value in that text box?
actually,
Every
when
time it
you
has to change,
actually,
right? When we are selecting the record, every time we need to remove the value and we need to place the value. That
uh,
thing we have to do that. See,
right. Actually, I do recall that when you had, taught us the menu a few means 2 or 3 days back, you have mentioned one property, and by enabling that property, we can get that control name in our code window.
mm, of
Uh,
course, auto
yeah.
declaration.
So yeah, auto declaration property. I'm sorry, I just missed this. So, what if I declare the auto declaration property of this total loan control to true, and
Fine.
I can get this control, and by using the static method,
Of course,
can I assign the
I got your point. For example, you would like to create a real text box only. Okay, you want to show the value by using static method.
Yes,
For example,
yes.
if you select this record, okay, fine. You will show the value here. Again, if you select the record, automatically this value has to remove, and we need to place the 102 loan amount, right?
Right,
Clear the value. Again, we
right.
need to write extra lines of code to show that particular kind of requirement. But display method is automatically doing everything for us. It would be a little bit complicated when it comparing with the display method.
Yeah, but that is also possible, right?
Possible in the sense we need to remove the value. I mean, we need to assign 0 value to the control,
Right,
and
right.
again
Every time we have to do this.
calculate the sum value every time.
Yeah, and this is very simplified. So, means this basically the display keyword is only used to display the value, and as you mentioned, these values cannot be
Store.
achieved at runtime and can't be stored at runtime.
The value will be calculated runtime. For example, here I selected a record. Now this point of time, the value calculated and it is directly showing in the text box itself. That's it. So we are not storing permanently in this text box the value. We are not storing. Suppose if you want to really store the value, create one extra column here, and we can achieve that sum. We can achieve that sum. But why we are using display method means we are simplifying the code, and this display methods are being used in the reports. In the reports, mostly these display methods we will use. For example, I just want to show the date. Directly we can use the display method. Today display method. For example, here I am creating one more control for your understanding purpose. Simply, okay. Oh, okay. Let me write on the piece of code here, new method, and simply public display date. Okay, I have written some piece of code. Now here I'm creating a control. I just want to show the data. I don't want to make it some operations on that particular thing. Okay, I'm taking date control. Okay, I'm showing here, and simply selecting the data source property, and here show today date. That's it. This is the way we need to execute. So automatically when it comes to the, so here I have not mentioned any record level criteria. It will show statically. I mean, automatically it will show the today date when we run the form. That method automatically returns the today date in the form level. That's it.
Arjun, is date method deprecated? Sorry, today method deprecated? Today for showing current.
Today is the function here. It is not a method, it's a function.
Yeah, so is that function deprecated in let's say the Visual Studio?
Return today. That's it. Return today.
No, when I write in my Visual Studio, it's showing if the function is deprecated, you need to
I
write
didn't get you.
long
Your voice
code.
is a little bit audio, not audible
Yeah,
properly.
when I write in Visual Studio, right?
Hmm.
Today function is showing a message, warning message actually showing कि today is function is deprecated. You need to write a long some other long code.
In way, it is working, right? See, today value showing. It is not relevant to record.
Today
Only
it working, but showing a message, deprecated message.
see here. I have written. directly like this. Okay. So this is about the today function, and I mean like display kind of thing. And we can drag and drop. I mean, we can create this control in the grid level also. Suppose if you required the same control in the grid, you can show. You can take real. Okay, I have taken real control and giving the same property. Okay, and loans. Okay, for every record, the loans will show in the last column itself, not only in the above of the form. That's it.
Now, another question. So, Arjun, in grid, so far we have seen a single table, right? Single table fields we can show in a grid. If the requirement is to show multiple table field, more than one, how can we do that?
Multiple
Because
table
we
fields.
pass one table in data source, right?
These kind of things we can show in like some average, minimum value, maximum value, count value. So
No,
that kind
no,
of
no.
requirements we can show.
For example,
Suppose
we have employee and loan table, right? Employee details to show in the grid. Again, we have to show the loan ID, loan details, EMI,
okay, in which
principal.
table? Here in the EMP table.
In grid, yeah.
In EMP table.
No, no, not EMP table. In a grid,
Of
you
course,
want to show
Sanjay, I'm
some fields
asking
from.
in grid. In that grid is available in a EMP table or not? EMP table form.
Grid is there,
In this grid, you want to show the loan details.
right? Along with employee details.
No, not possible, because if you can understand, in loan table we have more than one record, right? How can you show here? You need to
Nor
change
initially
the design.
while creating grid, right? We pass a single table in data source, right? Uh, as a data source. So in that case, we can only select fields from EMP tables in a
Yes,
grid.
that's what. In
My
for grid
the
control,
requirement
for
is
grid.
to sorry, the requirement is to we have to show employee table, some fields from employee table and some fields from data source. Loan table.
No,
How
not
can
possible in the same grid.
only one table you mean?
Of course, 100%. Because which property you will give, which data source you will give for data source property in the grid control.
That's why I'm asking
No,
this.
not possible. That's what we have a header and line concept already I have discussed with you in the first classes. At initial
Mm-hmm.
class, I discussed header and line. We have
But that
designed
was
we have designed two grid controls in the same form. This one, simple listed details. This one.
that's different thing.
That is of course different thing, but in a same grid, in one grid we cannot show two tables information. That is not possible, because in employee table only one record will be existed for every employee, but in loan table we have a multiple records. For one employee we have multiple records. How can you show that? That's what I'm asking. And user interface also will not support, right?
Okay, so another question is, in a form, we can select only one data source or
in a
multiple.
form in a form we can select one data source. Question is not clear.
No, I'm saying when we create a new form, right? We basically select data tables in a data source, right?
In a form you can create n number of grid controls if you want.
Not grid control. I'm saying when we create a new form, we basically select data table. We pass table in a data source.
Mm-hmm.
right? So here only one data table we can pass, or can we pass multiple tables?
Already we have discussed the topic last time. See, when I'm opening simplest details, here I have dragged. One second. Sorry,
We have
not this.
dragged one table, EMP table.
No, no, no. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Here there is a skills and loan table. Okay, let me open this form. Here three tables.
Okay, okay. Might be because I missed this class.
Hmm. We can
Okay,
drag
thank you.
multiple tables in the data source. That's what here I have taken three grid controls. If you can see, uh, if you can see, for loans we have a one grid. For skills there is another grid. See, in details we have a in navigation pane there is another grid. See, totally three grids. First grid, okay. Second grid, third grid.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Because for grid control we can assign only one data source property. System can select only one data source property here, one data source name. We cannot select multiple data source name for single grid control. So that is the reason we cannot drag fields from multiple data sources to in a single grid. Then finally, what is the name you will provide to the data source property? Which name, which data source name you will provide finally?
Right, right.
That is the case. We cannot drag, we should not drag multiple data source fields into the single grid.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so so this is about display method. And I think someone asked me find and exist method last time.
It's me, Suji. It's me.
Harsha, right?
Yeah.
Find and exist method already we have find and exist both are same actually. We need to go for a static method. For example, if I'm selecting I'm doing something, and if the record is available, okay, so we have to pass true value. Suppose if the record is not available, we have to pass false value. In that case, we have to use Boolean return type. Already that kind of requirement we have done in copy table last time. Record check method. In record check method, we have written this kind of code. This is kind of find and exist. If the record is find, or exist, both are new methods only. It is not a predefined methods. These are all not predefined methods. Okay, you just display. I mean, static methods always user defined methods itself. Instead of record check, you just place find or exist, whatever it is. Just name itself right. If the record is found, we are returning false. If the record is not found, return true, like this. Syntax is same.
No, Arjun, I'm not talking about this. So, like, for best practice, for every table, they'll write find and exist method, right?
Of course, that's what. Why they are writing?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
See, for example, here, okay, let's go with any existing table.
Cast table or something. Yeah.
Oh, fine, that's what. EMB table or cust table or whatever it is.
So it is mandatory for us to write for every table, right?
Mandatory in the sense, if there is a requirement, you definitely write the find f letter. Where is Where is the find method, exist method in cust table? Exist, find. Just a second. Let me show you the code. Okay, what exactly they have written. Simply, they will try to find out the something like a customer ID, if the customer ID existed or not. So they will get the name kind of thing, something like mostly. It is really required. You can implement and keep it in the table itself. Where it is located. Insert. See, it is a display method. So for a display method, no need to write a public. Okay. Simply you can write a display. Start with a display. It is a new method. Just give me a second. I'll show you what exactly they have written in the display. I mean, exist method. If the record exists, something like, okay, they want to find out something in the table. So that's what they will write. So many methods are there here. Okay, written underscore cust account and something like they have written one code, select first only record ID from cust table index name where cust ID equal to underscore cust ID. Okay, it is new method, right?
Yeah.
It is new method. They are finding they are written the customer account number. Maybe they have written some for some requirement. See, this is also exist method. Okay, see, exist method always the return type is boolean.
Hmm.
We are finding whether the record is available or not. Here, maybe they will send customer ID as a argument.
Hmm.
Okay, and they are returning some value. Okay, and that customer ID and select first only record ID from cust table. Something like a record ID is not equal to 0. Something like a if the record is available. So they are getting return true or return false finally.
Yeah.
And exist method, exist
So the
find
index we should write, what index we should be writing there? ID, like,
index.
yeah.
The index already we have seen about index concept, right?
No.
Index
We
by
should be mentioning the index here, right?
index.
Hint. So what does hint mean? Index, hint.
So that is also one of the index in the table. Index or index hint both are same mostly. Okay, I'll show you in the find method itself. It is the exist method, right?
So that is
Let
called
me
for syntax, correct? That
syntax
is called for
related.
syntax, correct?
It
Correct?
is yeah. Mostly see here static cust table find. They
Hmm.
are written in table directly. In this case,
Hmm.
find.
Hmm.
Okay, they are finding some of the customer account and select for update.
Arjun, here static is private or public?
See, if they are not mentioning anything, it should be public.
All right.
By default, it is public. If you no need to mention whether you are writing so many codes like syntaxes, right? You are writing public. Okay, no need to write public. If you are not writing, system will treat as it is a public. See, it's a depends on like find and exist. Both are new methods itself. It's not a you override methods. Based on requirement, we will write the find. For example, I just want to update something in my table. Okay, if the record exists, I will update. If the record not exist, so I will throw some like error kind of thing or warning kind of thing, something like. For that kind of requirements, we will write the exist method, find method, but both are user defined methods itself.
So
In
they'll
in
write this
table,
code. Yeah. So that when we search in SQL, so they can get the data or something. Right?
no, Harsha. Here, what I'm saying, why we are using find and exist, there is no specific reason.
Okay.
In every table has their own requirement of writing exist method, find method. So it is really not required. It is not compulsory of writing find and exist method. Whenever I require to find something in my table, I will write find method or exist method kind of thing. Then that case, you will write find method because you are sending some value from some X place. Okay, find this find this customer ID existed. Okay, get some data like that. Every find method and exist method will not be same in every table. They have their own requirements because it is a new method, right? Okay, fine. Here we have seen about exist method. Okay, what is the exist method is showing here? Static boolean exist, and we are passing customer ID. Okay, and we are returning if both are existed, if customer ID existed and the record something like they have written some piece of code, if both are true, okay, so they will return true or they will return false. Suppose if you go to the another table, something like when table. Okay, see here. It is the syntax a little bit different here. Boolean found equal to, here they are returning based on some situation. Select first only record ID from when table, where when table account number equal to whatever the value we are passing, this one. Okay, returning found value. We are getting true or false, whether the record existed in the table or not. If you want, you can copy the same piece of code, okay, and you can keep it in your table. Maybe sometimes we will use this exist method before writing something. If the record is existed, okay, fine, then I will write my business logic. If the record is not existed, I will use exception handling cases. Just write down and keep it in your table. Whenever it is required, you just use this method.
Yeah. So where do we call this, like exist or find?
That's what I'm saying from last couple of minutes. Whenever I require, I will call that method. So there is no specific condition. Okay, in this case, you need to call the method. But and we have seen here the real-time example what you asked me. Okay, here if my record existed, this is also kind of exist method. here my requirement is select record ID from EMP LOC, where whatever the employee ID I'm passing, find out my record ID. If the record ID existed, so that returning false. If the record ID existed, not existed, returning true. This is also like
I think when we update any record or delete any record, mostly we use this thing. First we check whether the record is there or not, and then we update or delete.
we need to find, for example, we are doing some operation. Okay, we are making some transactions for one customer ID. Okay, first of all, the customer existed in the main table or not. We need to find that first, right? So that first we will verify the data. Okay, whether the customer ID existed. Okay, return true. Return true in the sense, in that block we will write some piece of code. If the customer ID not existed, then we will go for exception handling cases. So that's what, maybe you have seen that in every table we have a find and exist methods.
Yeah.
Mostly, I mean, most of the requirements, for example, I'm doing transactions with my customer table or vendor table. Every time I need to check whether the record existed or not in the table. And now I will start writing my business code. In that case, always we will call exist method, find methods. That is really new method. It is not a override method. It is showing like a static, right? Override methods could not be static if you observe something. Okay, fine. So this is all about table methods and instance method and static methods and display method especially. Is it clear?
Arjun, yeah,
Tell
Arjun.
me.
And
So
yeah, actually we had just checked that Microsoft has even exposed the code for the standard forms also, right? You have shown us the cust form.
Hmm.
So in case like the master, in case if we need to you know some customize some existing forms like
Hmm.
the form you had recently shown, the customer master form, and we have
Hmm.
already checked this code and all. So
Hmm.
in case we need to customize the existing form, what we are supposed to do means
That
you will explain us
that I will
in
tell you in
letter.
future. Currently, see, here you are accessing couple of I mean, here you are seeing the code directly,
Right,
predefined
right.
code you are able to see, but you cannot modify. You cannot modify.
Okay.
You will not allow that. Here you
Okay.
can see there are a couple of methods. For example, if I am taking any method, something like write method, okay, but you, for example, I have taken this method and I am trying to save the when table. Okay, what it is showing, the file when table XML cannot be saved because it is write protected.
Uh, okay.
You cannot write any method in this particular when table. There are some certain rules are there that we need to make that.
So, will you explain this to us later? How we are going to customize the existing form?
The events.
No, I the same miss. Will you explain this to us later? How we are going
Yeah,
to customize?
we will see, definitely we will see.
And Karjun,
There is event concept.
okay, I had one more question that in general we have TFS, you know, to check in our existing code in .NET. How do
Hmm.
we can check out our code in this D365? Because everything is in XML base, and we have just seen that it is shown that this form is write protected, but there was a chance to correct this form also. So how do we
Comes in extensions concept that we will discuss in future.
okay, but
Extension
how to
concept is there.
how to check in and check out our code to the TFS in D365?
I mean, I think we need to install the tools, Team Server Foundation, right? You're asking.
Yeah, but in general, when we are doing desktop development, we have a Team Server Foundation installed on a certain location. So, developers get their code from there, do the development on their machine, and prior going to him, they just, check in their code so
Yes,
that
yes.
the code is secured. So, what is that policy here in Dynamics 365? Because everything is
Here also we can use the TFS and some of the tools here also.
but the TFS is also here web-based, right? Web-based. So how
That
to
I will tell you. I will tell you.
how to
So
install and configure the
how to
TFS?
install it? I don't know how to install it because in my company the admin people will do that and they have given everything configured and they are providing the environment.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, when we are discussing about events concept and extensions concept, you would understand how we are modifying the existing forms, existing code, and everything. I'll definitely show you that.
Okay. Okay.
So I'll write some methods, new methods and override methods. How can we write the piece of code in the existing method in existing form? Okay, how to create a new method, how to override a new method, how to override a method in the form or table or class. I'll show you. That comes
Okay.
in the part of extensions.
Fine.
Uh,